and welcome everyone to Chirping Zebras episode 54, the Adam McQuaid episode. Mark Riley alongside Gino Binder Jr. and Josh Dolan in the interwebs. And right off the hop, we want to thank our sponsor, the Referees Crease, your one-stop shop for all your refereeing needs. Gino got the quarter zip on tonight. And also want to thank AOA Studios for all the work they do. We'll be in studio next week again, and they do all our editing and whatnot. So I want to thank those guys. They do such a great job. And we have a great guest. We thought we were going to have Kerry Frazier this week. He's going to be next week. We were able to score a huge guest for today, and we'll get into that in a minute. But I just wanted to point out I'm wearing my Curry college hockey jersey. They made the NCAAs, the number one ranked team in the tournament, number 2 in the country. And it's funny, we got the old school Colonel.
I love it.
Old school Colonel. Even on the shirt, it's got the Colonel, the head, and I believe that's illegal now.
When you played, where did you guys play out of?
Oh, we played out of Ponkapog, believe it or not. We practiced in Ponkapog. We played our home games there. It was absolutely awful. We practiced sometimes over in the old Ulen rink.
Oh yeah, that's where they play now.
No,
right.
Curry took over the Ulen rink in Milton, and then they left there when the Ice House opened in Canton.
Yeah, that's right. They went to Canton.
Yeah, and they have a nicer locker room than we used to use the regular locker room at Ponkapog and bring our equipment back to the dorm.
That's what
no one was happy.
Yeah, we had to do that to my senior year. It was brutal. Yeah.
Yeah, awful. But now it's run more like a D1 program than a D3 program. So
it's gonna get even bigger now.
Of course, back in the day, international students we had were from Connecticut and Maine. Now they're from everywhere. You know, right. They come from everywhere. Europe
it's a big D3's up and coming. Watch with all the new Canadians, all that stuff coming down. Forget it. Everybody's going to be, getting better and better.
And of course, I want to congratulate Peter Roundy, the head coach of Curry, for the job he's done over the past few years since he took over. Of course, this is the 50th year Curry hockey has been a varsity sport at the college. Oh, wow. So it's a good year to win the whole thing. I'll just say that. And Saturday we had a little reunion. Some boys from the teams back in the day. Freddie Hooley,
that's awesome.
Billy Stewart talked a lot about. Ralphie DeLeo, Brian Looney. I mean, there was a whole lot of them there, and it was really cool. We went over and watched the game, and the referees did a good job. So
that's awesome.
Shout out to my Colonels.
I remember when Salve was in the finals. A bunch of us went. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah. Well, without further ado, we have an awesome guest today.
Yes,
he played 688 games in the NHL, won a Stanley Cup in 1986 with the Montreal Canadiens. Boston boy. And the whole city's proud of him. He was able to play for the Bruins as well for a couple of years. I want to welcome Chris Nilan to the Chirping Zebras. Welcome, Chris.
Mark, Gino, how you doing, guys? Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here.
No problem.
Right on.
Now, first off, you're a Boston kid, grew up West Roxbury, and then you end up as really an iconic player in Montreal. I mean, you couldn't have expected that happening.
Well, iconic maybe in my mother's eyes. I never expected that. I think back to, the year I was drafted, and, it's funny, my Uncle Ed from South Boston lived over behind me in West Roxbury. He used to drive the fire commissioner in Boston. He was a firefighter for years, and then he got a cushy job driving the commish around. And he said my father said the only way I'll get drafted in the NHL is if there is another. Well, he said the only way I'll get drafted if there's another war. And then my Uncle Ed said it. He said, "You want to get drafted?" He said, "Go open the window over there. You'll get a draft." And I'm okay. So they used to, I just always had this feeling I might get a shot at getting drafted, but I wasn't, I was hoping, put it that way. But if you really know the backstory of that, I was drafted in the 17th round or 19th, whichever way they look at it now. But I was 231 out of 234. The only reason I got drafted, because some scout come and found me, Judge Paul King, the Chief Justice at Dorchester District Court. His brother Ed was the governor. The judge coached me for a team called Hub City. And the judge, I had a great relationship with him, just an awesome guy. I loved him. We were close. He helped me get into Northeastern. He was good friends with Fernie. When I got into Northeastern and got going, I didn't know it. And I only found out when the judge died at his funeral. Dickie Moore, Hall of Fame of the Montreal Canadiens, and Doug Harvey. Doug was a scout for the Habs at the time, and Dickie was a real successful business guy here in Montreal. The judge knew them two guys really well. The judge had helped Dickie Moore with some things, legal questions regarding his business when he started out back in the day, and they stayed close friends. Anyway, the judge had called Dickie Moore when I was at Northeastern and said, listen, can you guys do me a favor and just get the Canadians to take Chris in the draft, their last pick, whatever, just pick him. So Dickie said, okay, blah, blah, blah. And he talked to Doug. I guess Doug had come down and seen me play 1 or 2 games. And then the draft came, and I ended up getting drafted. I was happy I got drafted, but I didn't know the backstory until I was at the judge's funeral in retirement, and Dickie Moore came to the funeral, and I was sitting there, and all of a sudden I seen Dickie come walking in. I'm there, holy. And I had known Dickie and talked to him and had lunch with him in Montreal when I played here, and he never mentioned a word. He said, hey, let's grab lunch afterwards. But we went and sat down. He said, hey, I got to tell you something. And the judge never wanted me to let you know this, but he's the reason you got drafted by the Montreal Canadiens. He called me, asked me if I would talk to Sam Pollock, and he called Doug, and Doug came to see you play. And then Sam said, okay, we'll pick him with one of our last picks. And that's how I got my foot in the door, the judge. And he said, you know what the judge said to me, Chris? He said, listen, Dickie, you guys, I'm telling you, just pick Chris Nilan and he'll do the rest. And Dickie was like, yeah, sure. I heard this one before. And it's crazy how it worked out, but the judge, he loved me and I loved him. And he saw something in me, maybe a little bit of himself. And he had that confidence in me, and that he went out on a limb for me on quite a few occasions. And, it changed the directory of my life, no question about it.
Incredible, the relationships and the connections you make and the doors that open up, and then you got to do the rest, right? Like, yeah, you get those chances and those opportunities, but like you make the best of them. And you just see from your career, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, listen, I got my foot in the door. I was coming into a situation, 4 Stanley Cups in a row. I stayed in school. I got drafted after my second year, and I wanted to leave, but my father was like, you ain't leaving. He was laying down the law with me. You ain't leaving. You're going to get an education, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. So I stayed 1 more year in school. So I could have been on that 4th team if I left, the 4th in a row. Chances are, you never know, but if I went to camp that year, I might have got up to the big team if it was anything like my first year when I came the next year. But, just getting that opportunity, coming to the first camp, everybody's telling me, you don't have a chance in hell, blah, blah, blah. They won 4 cups in a row. But they were, that 4th in a row, they were going into that transition. They lost Dryden. The year I came to camp, Convoyer left, Dryden left, Lemaire left.
Wow.
3 really big pieces.
Wow.
And all them guys were getting older. So the door opened up for me, fortunately.
That's awesome.
That's amazing. And talk about taking care of it. You became not even just a regular NHL player, but a staple up there. And, between the fights, but you had a couple of years, you had 21 goals 1 year, 19 goals the next year. You won the Stanley Cup. Everyone that wins the Stanley Cup that comes on, we ask them, what's it like to lift that thing over your head?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. You can see the picture of it right here. I'm actually in a suit because I tore ligaments in my ankle. The second Yeah, the second to last game. And I went, that game was in Calgary when we clinched it. And I had got an injection in the warm up. And I went in the warm up, and Serge Savard, the general manager at the time, they were watching me, like, see how I was skating and everything. My ankle was freaking huge. I couldn't even, yeah, it just ballooned up, tore the ligaments, and I could hardly tighten my skate. And I was frozen, so I didn't feel anything. And I'm trying to, like, look normal out there, but I know I wasn't. And I came in after warm up, and Serge was there, and he's never down there. And he wanted to tell me, as opposed to the coach. He said, "Big boy," he said, "you can't go tonight. You have to think of the team." And I'm there. Come on, I can go. Blah blah blah. You know, uh, I can fight. I can whatever. And he said, "No, no, we gotta go with someone who's healthy." And the good part about that was Steve Rooney um, played that game in place of me and got his name on the Stanley Cup.
So cool.
Another local kid.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh yeah,
That's awesome. Now, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about some of your penalty records that you hold in the NHL. And my personal favorite is most penalty minutes in a game with 42. And I don't think that's going to ever be broken. What was that, March 31st, 1991? But you also, the single most playoff penalty minutes, 141. And you also are one of only 9 that have 3,000 penalty minutes in your career. And but what people don't realize, and I think you hold one more, penalty minutes per game, 4.42. You weren't just a fighter, much like Terry O'Reilly and a lot of the players of that day. You could play hockey, but man, you had zero fear. And that was, I think, the part of your game that was most impressive, was the fact that everyone knew when you were on the ice not to fuck around, right?
Well, listen, I'll beg to differ on the zero fear, because I had it,
Okay.
but I was able to walk through it. And that's not an easy thing, especially when you go into Boston and there's O'Reilly, Jonathan, Wensink, Cashman, and name some
Miller.
more. Secord.
Yeah. Secord, yeah.
Then Kluzak, Curran, Miller, and then going to Philadelphia. I went on Philly one night. I started the game. They had Don Knockbauer at center, Berube and Dave Brown, Jeff Chikrin and Terry Cochner on defense. So, no, the fear is there, but you got to be able to walk through it. You got to be able to do your job. I was never scared of really getting a fight. I was scared of losing a fight, because when you lose, we've seen guys lose fights, a couple fights, and next thing they're out the door. Let's get a tougher guy. I had I guess the ace in the hole is that I could kind of play, and it took me some time to become an NHL regular. And playing alongside 2 Hall of Famers in Carbonneau and Gainey was awesome. They helped me. Jacques Lemaire helped me become a better player. But all those, the penalty part and the fighting part, I didn't have a problem doing it. I didn't stay up at night. Like I hear a lot of guys say, I couldn't sleep the night before, couldn't sleep the afternoon of the game. I slept like a baby. When I started to worry about it, was once I woke up and I started thinking about the game. I had to get to the locker room. I used to get to the locker room. We play 8:00 games here in Montreal. I was there at 4:00. Lafleur was there at 3:00. He was.
Yeah, that checks out.
Yeah, and I got to the rink early, and then I could relax more and take care of shit I had to take care of and get my mindset where I had to go. But yeah, the fear was there, no question.
I mean, does it coincide that like the years that you had the most points, you had the most penalty minutes too? Do you like? I feel like that in the playoffs too, or even like when the Bruins won, like they had the most fighting majors. They were the toughest team in the league. Like a lot of teams that seem to win the Stanley Cup, they're tough too. Not only they can play, but they're tough.
Yeah, you got to have a tough team to win. You got to have talent. You got to have toughness. Yeah, it just so happens that, but you know, a little backstory. When I first came in, Claude Rorell was the guy, you know, little Claude Rorell was assistant coach. He helped develop Rod Langway, all the young players in Montreal. He worked every day with guys, fundamentals, passing, shooting, skating, everything. And that was fun. It helped me. But when Jacques Lemaire came in, everything changed for me. Lemaire really, you know, Bob Berry was there, and Ruel was the assistant, but Bob Berry was, you know, he didn't work much with me. I was fighting. He was happy with me as a fighter. That was it. When Lemaire came, it went to another level. He started working with me and showing an interest in me. He would do drills with me every day on the ice, you know, putting pucks upstairs from in tight, all those drills, skating drills, foot movement drills. You know, I had a puck on my stick, all warm up in practice, but we always did warm ups with pucks. And he explained, he said, the reason why I do this, guys, because a lot of guys, you just want to warm up a couple of hoops and you're done. He said, the reason why we do it is because, listen, come game time, you're not going to have the puck on your stick that much. You don't have the puck much in a game. So when you have it, I want you to be comfortable with it and do something good with it and not just throw it away. Right. And he had so many good points, but he worked with me a whole lot, showed an interest in me. And then he actually came to me one night in New York. I fought Barry Beck, and he had a cast, and he cut me. And Lemaire came after the game. He said, listen, we play the Islanders 2 nights from now. You're not going to play. I'm there. Why? He said, you fight too much. I want to give you a break. I don't want a fucking break. I want to play. He said, no, I'm going to give you a break. You fight too much. Slow down. He said, you don't understand. People are scared shit of you out there. You get more room than anybody.
Right.
So use the room. And I'm there, yeah, but I want to play. You're not going to play. So anyway, went back and forth. I ended up playing the game only because the guy they called up couldn't play because of a technicality, something the players' agreement. So when he told me I couldn't play, I went out and drank the night before the game. It was shit day. I was pissed. And then I thought Dave Allison was going to play. And that day they said, oh, he can't play. There was something in the collective bargaining agreement. He came, I don't know. But I ended up playing. I was pissed then. Now I'm pissed I'm playing because I was pissed. But Lemaire took it to the other leg. And
that's great.
You know, he not only told me I could play and told me to slow down the fighting, which I didn't, but, you know, he told me I could play. Then he played me. He played me on the power play. He played me like, fuck, it was, talk about confidence. But I gave him confidence that I could do it, too, as a coach. He knew I could do it, giving me that liberty of playing a little more than the average tough guy. And man, I was confident as hell in it. And there's no way, there's nothing I wouldn't have done for that guy as a player. I just loved him. You know, he's the guy who really, he kind of refined, like Claude taught me some fundamentals and taught me how to work hard and all that stuff. But then Lemaire, he refined it and took it a step up, to be honest with you.
That's awesome. Now, a lot of discussion nowadays is fighting in hockey. Does it have a place? And, you know, are they trying to get rid of it? We here believe that fighting does have a place in hockey. And it's kind of, you know, back in the day, the sport policed itself. And nowadays it's kind of hard because if someone takes a run at someone and then you take care of that, you end up with a 17-minute penalty. It happened last week in the Rangers game when Rempe took a run at a guy and they ended up not even getting a power play off of it. What's your thoughts on fighting in hockey as far as the game now, as opposed to when you played?
I love fighting in hockey.
I love it. I know, probably a dumb question to ask you, but the woke crowd thinks the fighting should go, and we don't. But it serves a purpose.
Yeah, a couple things. Listen, this is a passionate sport. You got to have passion and drive and desire to play this game, and you got to express that on the ice. And a lot of times when you do, shit's gonna happen. Now I get it. They don't want the guy who just sits on the bench anymore and goes out and fights. You can't afford to have that. But to have guys who are able to play and fight is a good thing, I believe. You know. I don't think they can ever take it out. One, I think the players have to vote on it if they're going to change that rule. And I don't know if they'd ever vote to take it out. Two, man, if they ever did, because, it's a black eye for our sport, it's not good, you know, we got to get with the ages here. And if they do and they realize afterwards, all of a sudden all this bad shit starts happening and players can't kind of do their own little thing to police the game, then how do you put it back in? You know, you can't justify putting it back in if you take it out. So I don't know if they'll ever take it out. But that being said, I still think there's a place for it. And it's always good to have a guy in the lineup that is able to fulfill that role. And there's some, you know, I love the kid, Olivier in Columbus, man. He's a tough bastard. He can play the game. Jack Eye's brother right now, Florian, is in Laval, who pretty tough kid. He can fight, really tough kid, can fight, gamer. But I look at his numbers. I remember I got called up in 79 when I got called up. I had 15 goals and 10 assists in 304 minutes and penalties. I got called up. When he had 49 games in the AHL, he's got 53 now. He had 15 goals, 10 assists, and like 103 minutes in penalties or something like that. But, you know, he's on the cusp of maybe making an impact in this organization moving forward. So I hope so, because I think there's a place in the game for it. Again, I don't care. I could care less if I saw another brawl. Mm-hmm. If I saw 5 guys on the ice drop their gloves at once and go, I wouldn't have a problem with that either. But, you know, everybody gives it to Bettman because, oh my God, he's, you know, the pussification of the game, if you will. Yep. But you can't knock him. You can, but really, when you look what he's done for hockey, look at the financial state of the game. The players are finally making money in this league, which is awesome. You know, it's on TV in the States on major networks, which that was their goal. And they thought they had to tone down the fighting because, you know, on a Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon on whatever, CBS, ABC, whichever puts it out there, you're going to see the Broad Street Bullies, you know, tomahawking the fucking Russians. Like, you know, back in that era, that was normal shit, but now it's not. Right. But I think it should stay in the game. I hope it does. I hope they never take it out.
Who was the toughest guy you had to fight?
You know, that's a
question. I know they're all tough.
Yeah,
I asked
that's
that to Terry O'Reilly.
They're all tough. Like every guy who does that job is a tough bastard. I don't care, you know, this one, that one. I never classify guys. I knew if a guy was a righty or a lefty. You know, I knew they were all tough, and I kind of treated them all the same way that way. I mean, I learned a big lesson my first time against Boston. I fought Jonathan and O'Reilly, and I knew he was a lefty, and I just, boom, I threw a right, and he come back and hit me with 2 lefts. The blood just poured out of my head, and, you know, I couldn't see out of my eyes. I stayed on my feet, but he got me good. And I remember going to the penalty box, and my pride was fucking crushed, and, you know, I'm going to get sent down. O'Reilly beat me up. They'll never give me... And I got in the penalty box, and I was looking over, and O'Reilly was going like this. He pointing at his left, you know, going, yeah, I know. Thanks. You were my hero, you fucking asshole. And I love O'Reilly.
Right.
But at the time, I was like, you know, And I remember sitting there that night and I said, you know what? If I fight like that moving forward, I'm going to have a lot of trouble. And from that point forward, I started to become a better technical fighter. I started fighting the way I wanted to fight instead of the way the other guy wanted me to fight. I started taking guys' strength away, if he was a righty or a lefty, and picking my way through the fight and learn how to do different things to be able to be an effective fighter while defending myself. And that was a big night for me, a big learning curve. And from that point forward, I did pretty good at it. Like I started tying guys up. I'm going to take his left away next time, and I'm gonna feel my way through the fight. One fight I did it against Berube. It's a perfect example. He was trying to throw his left. He was trying to throw his right. I'm trying to throw my right. He had a grip on me, the death grip. I had the death grip on him. You know, I'm not going to throw my weak punch against his strong punch. I got to be smart. So I had Berube's, I had his right tied up really good. And I was starting to try and throw, but I couldn't get through. So I'm not going to tire myself. Why tire myself out? So I just hung there. And he started throwing his right, and I had him right inside here. Mm-hmm. And, you know, he was throwing. I had my head buried and turned. I wasn't getting, if he dinged my helmet, great. So I felt him, about 5 punches, I felt him starting to get a little tired. And he came through with the 6th, and I let go when he drew back, and I hit him with a fucking short left, and he went boom. And the fight was over. Right. And we went to the penalty box, and he's yelling at me, and I'm yelling at him. And I go, just like O'Reilly did. But I worked on my left, I really worked on it and tried to get it strong enough where I was confident enough to throw it, because you're always stronger with one side than the other. And, to be confident enough to throw it, you're fighting a righty and you're going to throw all lefts. You better be ready to take a fucking punch. And, I did a few times, but, for the most part, learning to throw that left and being a good technical fighter was the reason I lasted so long.
O'Reilly told a funny story on here about a time when you got into it with Pete Peters, and he was down the other end, and he came charging down, and you were kind of pinned in the corner with the linesman, and he poked his head over, and he said, you smoked him.
I did. He got cut for 25 stitches, He got fucking ripped wide open. But here's what happened. Pete Peters, that night, I'll never forget, he gave me the stick once, gave it to me again, and I said, hey, one more time, I'm going to take your fucking head off. So we're in their zone. I'm in front of the net. The shot comes through. It goes wide. He give me that, and I start skating away. And now the Bruins have the puck in the Boston Garden. They're going up our end of the rink. So, boom, off and running. I got to their blue line. I go, you know what? I fucking said I was going to get him. I turned around. So we're 5-on-4, and I come back down. He's looking at me, comes kind of gliding out at me, and I just fucking cross-check him in the head. And then the whole stadium goes, ah. And I turn around, I look, and now here's O'Reilly coming, and Kevin Collins is trying to keep him away.
Oh, yeah.
He wasn't with me, Kevin. He was with O'Reilly, kind of trying to keep him away. And they were coming, and I got my back in the corner. I'm like, fuck, he's coming at me. What, am I going to let him punch me? So I threw a punch. I'm telling you, my hand fucking hurt me for 2 weeks. And I fought 2 nights later in Philadelphia. I fought Dave Brown. I could not fucking hold my stick. My hand was, when I hit him with that force of my punching, his head is pretty big. And
yeah.
Fuck, every bone in my hand and my arm went right back up into me. And I'm telling you, my hand was swollen for weeks. I had to ice it. But I cut him open bad. He went down. I didn't hit him again. Once he was down, I wouldn't. And he was actually gave Pete Peters shit because he had told him.
That's what he said. That's what
he told Pete Peters. After he gave me the stick, he said, "Leave that fucking guy alone. Don't wake him up, please. Just leave him alone." And he went in the room and Pete came in afterwards. "Hey, sorry." Terry told him, "Fuck you. I told you to leave him alone, because I'm the one who's got to fucking come and take care of it, So, a pretty funny story. I got him back.
Exactly what he said. He said, Peters came in and I said, "What'd he do to you?" "Oh, I stabbed him." And he goes, "What the fuck are you doing? I got to fight him."
Yeah.
That's
fucking crazy.
That's awesome. Is there one, I suppose the better question I should ask is there one fight that stands out to you as that one that you'll never forget?
That's
That's a worse question.
I remember most of them. I guess like that one with O'Reilly, my first one with O'Reilly, because I loved him.
Yep.
I loved O'Reilly. I had some really good fights with Jay. I have one with Jay at the blue line, like fucking weird throwing and uppercuts and over. And, Jay could take a punch. He was a good fighter.
Nuts.
And yeah, like, the whole Middleton incident, something that I did, it was certainly out of character for me. It's one of the things I regret in my career happening. I did it. I not blaming on Frazier, but it was fucking Frazier's fault.
Our next guest.
Do you know?
We will ask him about it.
Well, I got hit in the corner with Middleton. We came together. And they come up and he high sticked me, got me in the helmet. And I'm skating back up. No penalty. I'm like, fuck you. I was so pissed. It's like, if I did that, I'm gone.
Right.
Right? And Kerry always fucking looked for me anyway. I was the easy mark, right? But, that pissed me off. And I turn around, I had my stick in my hand, but I hit him with my glove. I fucking joked. If I hit him with my stick, I would have ripped his face open. I didn't. I hit him with the back of my glove, but I hit him with force. And his false teeth went through his lip. And I've apologized to him and everything. Fucking people still give me shit about that. Fuck you all.
Hey, I want it noted. We didn't bring it up. You did.
No, I know. But the reason why I did is because they don't have this penalty anymore. But we were going to have to play shorthanded. I had a 10-minute major where we had to play shorthanded for 10 minutes. And the penalty was, at the time, 10-minute major for intent to injure and cause injury. You ask Frazier about it. 10 minutes. We had to play shorthanded. Wow. But thanks to the Bruins, because they always did this, they'd fuck it up somehow. And they took a penalty, so they shortened it to like 8, I think.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, we'll ask Kerry about that one for sure. Bringing up referees was because we are referees, and we're going to talk a little bit about our interaction.
You guys are referees. What the fuck am I doing on here? I didn't know that. You're telling me that now?
I was your favorite ref in the East Coast League. Don't lie to me. Don't lie to me. I had to be. We had a lot of fun.
Any guy from Boston, if they were down there, I had respect for him. I would always try and get along with people, knowing they're from Boston. If you were from fucking Shoe Swap, British Columbia, I don't know.
Well, we might as well talk about it now, because Andy Van Hellemond was the boss down there at the time. And he calls me one night because you were, kind of torturing a lot of people from the bench. And he says, you're from where, Knuckles is from, right? I said, yeah, it was the same town. He goes, you got to do something. Can you go in and I don't know, do the Boston thing or something? And so I said, all right. So the first call I make, I don't know if you remember, but you were like, you made that call. I'm Chris fucking Nilan. And I'm going, who are you? Acting like just being a complete dick.
What was it? That ain't the night I got suspended, was it?
No. So you're yelling and I'm going back and forth, and I mentioned something about finding your hockey card, and I should save it. And you're fuck. And I said, you know what? This ain't the rink on the VFW, okay?
Yeah.
So, and then you were like, what? And I said, you'll sit up with your owner and watch the rest of this game if you want to keep acting like this. And then I said, Papa Bear would be very disappointed in your behavior right now. And your face completely changed. And you went, Papa Bear? How do you know Papa Bear? I go, he's my uncle. And I skated away. And
Frankie, baby.
Oh, my Uncle Frank Stevenson. And the next call I make, I hear you scream, no way, Papa Bear's nephew would make a call that fucking bad. And I looked over and you winked at me and smiled. I smiled. And then we got along great after that.
Funny. Because I thought you were talking about what I had an incident. I forget who the ref was, but they forfeited the game because I wouldn't get off the bench. I got kicked out of the game. And what happened? We had a kid named Petri Ginta. He was from Finland.
Yep.
And that kid, Darren Colburn, went after him. Fucking dropped his gloves, beat him up. They give him a fucking 5-minute major for fighting. He never dropped his gloves. He just turtled. He didn't know how to fight. They gave him a 5-minute major. So I snapped on the ref. I said, what the fuck? And I said, if anybody knows what a fucking fight is, I do. That wasn't a fucking fight. He wouldn't talk. He stayed over the other side. And he sent my captain over to fucking talk to me. Tell Chris he's out of the game. You got to get off the bench. I said, I ain't going. Go back and tell him I ain't going anywhere. Fuck you. And he kept going. They forfeited the game. Wow. And yeah, I got in shit for that from the league because that's a no forfeiting a game. But anyway, and then the night I threw the sticks, that was another one.
Yeah,
Fuck
that wasn't me. That wasn't me either. We never had a problem. we never had a problem. I just remember your captain coming out a couple of times. He'd come out and he'd go, "Hey, Riles, can you throw the coach out?" I go, "Why?" Well, he's threatening us. He's saying we're playing soft and he's going to beat the shit out of one of us.
Funny shit.
And I'd say, he's not doing anything. He's behaving. Make something up. I'm not making anything. I'm not throwing him out if he doesn't deserve it. I used to get the biggest laugh. And I mean, I think there wasn't too many refs you got along with down there.
No. I didn't like referees. I still don't. But on a whole, I don't like them. I think they have a very difficult job. I think they're in a situation where, they're not held. They're held accountable in a way, but I just get fed up with some of the shit I see that they just fucking let go or they call penalties on them. Like, I think the league overwhelms referees with the amount of shit they throw at them, though, too. And
it's a lot.
You know, it was nice when there was one because you could get away with it more. But when there's two, I also think there's a little, inner competition going on. Like, you're reffing one guy and he calls 3 fucking penalties and you haven't called one yet. You're like, oh shit, I'm not doing anything tonight. I better get involved. I don't like fucking referees. And I usually preface that with I deserved 99.99% of all the penalties I ever got.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. We can live with that. You're like Lysol. You killed 99.9% of the germs.
Well, I think I gave you guys a little too much here. Probably about 98% I deserved. The other 2, no.
I remember again. You in between because Andy always would send me in because we got along.
I love Andy.
And Andy was great. And I remember one game where you came busting in the locker room in between periods to ask a question. And I was like, whoa, what the hell are you doing? You can't bust in here. Go back out there and knock. So you go back out and knock, and I go, who is it? You go, fuck you. Let me in here. So when you come in, we had a laugh, and you were like, what's the big deal? I'm just asking a question, not yelling. I go, listen, we could be doing sick shit in here with goats. You come busting in. Next thing you know, you tell the whole league. Mm-hmm. And I never forget the look in your face. You go, fucking goats. Like, what the hell are you talking about? But I used to love going to Chesapeake and doing your games. We never had a problem.
Yeah. Listen, I had fun down there. I loved coaching. I left after my second year. they moved to Chesapeake, moved to Jackson, Mississippi. I said, I ain't going to fucking Jackson. I almost got the job in Providence. Peter Laviolette got it over me. Pat Burns was pulling for me, and Ed Burns, the owner of Providence, wanted Peter, and they ended up with Peter, which I get it. Politics can work for you and against you at times, so I get it. And he certainly did really well with the opportunity he got, Peter. So good on him. But yeah, when I didn't get that job, it was like there's no other jobs, and I wasn't going to Jackson, Mississippi, and I got away from coaching. Those 2 years coaching for me, head coach of that group of guys, I had so much fun. I loved coaching guys. Being a head coach, assistant coach, I'm not. I can't do that job. I can't fucking, pat fannies and powder bums and, oh, you poor boy. I can't do that. It's hard.
You did well as a coach. You had 2 winning seasons, made the playoffs, and
that was an expansion team too, right? We're an expansion team. We had a great year. I got coach of the year. Yeah, my first year was
won the John Brophy Award.
Yeah, it was awesome. But that ship sailed. I often think I would have made a really good NHL coach if things didn't go sideways, or I didn't go sideways on me, but I did.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that for a second, because we had Kevin Stevens on. I myself, I'm in recovery, sober from alcohol 19 years. Josh Dolan is 2.5, our producer. It doesn't. We always say it doesn't matter who you are or where it hits you. It hits you. And you've done a remarkable job in your recovery. Talk a little bit about that.
What's that? I didn't.
There was someone's phone was ringing. That was
weird.
I didn't. A phone. Oh, what I was saying
I didn't hear it.
That was mine. Sorry.
Oh,
no problem. I just didn't hear what you were saying. Something about recovery.
Yeah, just talk about that journey. I mean, because it's such an important story to hear. Kevin Stevens was on with us, and he turned his life around. It's just I have tremendous respect. So does Gino. So does Josh. I mean, we all do, with someone that can, turn that around and get yourself back on the right track. And you're a perfect example of that.
Yeah. Listen, I went down a bad road, and I when I think of the league back then, and I won't just say the league. When you look at what happened with me, you got to look at the person's entire life. A lot of people think today, some of these hockey fighters who have died, either overdoses or they've died young from suicide. Everybody tries to equate it with that, and it has to encompass your whole life. I look at growing up as a kid, always hanging around with my friends, drinking beers and, just being around it all the time. It was part of my life growing up, and certainly my college days, Northeastern. What do you do in your college playing hockey? You go to Cask and Flagon, you go to Punter's Pub, whoop it up with the boys, work hard, play hard. And then in the 80s in the NHL, hello, there was beer in the Canadians didn't have alcohol in the locker room, but other teams I know did. When we went on the road all the time, first thing you do when you get in there is talk to the locker room attendant from the other team and say, there's my bag, make sure it's full after the game. So drinking was a big part of it, and that stems from, the way we grew up. But think of the NHL back in the train days. They're on the train for fucking three days, 2 days, whatever. What are they doing? They're playing cards, they're drinking. So no more trains, but they're planes now. And there's a big culture in the NHL in the 80s. Every day after practice in Montreal, we had to go across the street to the Cabernet downstairs, Plaza Alexis Neal, and show up for lunch. You had to come in and sit down and talk with your teammates. You didn't have to drink, but you're in a tavern. What are you going to drink? So you're drinking beers, and you know, we had one guy in that era that didn't, Brian Walter. He was a born again Christian, but everybody showed up. Guys would have a couple beers, go home. Some guys would stay longer, go home, and then some guys would stay longer and go out, not go home. And when you're a young guy, you do all that. And then, you know, after games, you know, I used to, after games, drink quite a bit. I couldn't drink right away. I had to settle down a bit. And then I drink to kind of unwind. Because really, emotionally and mentally and physically, there's a toll to be taken when you do that job. And it helped me unwind a lot. And then the problem with me, when I retired, I kept drinking like I was playing. Then I had a bunch of surgeries, which, you know, over the course of my young life, my career in retirement, I've had over 35 surgeries.
Wow.
And in retirement, I had quite a few. And, you know, I got going on painkillers, and I didn't realize what was going on with me. I never knew anything about recovery or how I can get well, even what was happening to my body from a physical standpoint. I just didn't get it. When I didn't have the pills, I'm like, oh, I feel like shit. I know one thing: when I take a handful, fuck, I feel normal. And then, you know, I went from Percocet to OxyContin, and then eventually the other shit, heroin. Because when I was still entrenched in my addiction, the you know, OxyContin got to be a no-no, and they were cracking down on it, and you couldn't get it, and you know, when you come off of opiates, you feel like you're gonna die. I mean, it's the worst feeling in the world. The only thing that takes it away is more opiates, and yeah, I got all wrapped up in that. I didn't know what was going on with me physically, and I just knew one thing: when I had it, I felt okay. And to get off that hamster wheel, it took some time, but and it also took me being able to certainly pick up the phone, because I got well once, and I got well through former player Bob Gainey, teammate, knew I was struggling with some things and gave me a card. And it was a guy from the NHL, Dan Cronin. He's the one of the lead interventionists for the league, still is today. He's from Massachusetts, from Worcester originally. And Dan, I had his card in my pocket, and I remember I was just like beaten down. I was like, what? And I called him one day, and I ended up meeting with him, and I went off the treatment the first time. I stayed sober, half-assed sober, for about 3 years. And then I started drinking again, and then boom, back on the other shit. And I got so bad, again, I picked up the phone, and I called Dan Cronin. I called him. I called him and said, hello, who's this? I said, Chris Nilan. He goes, oh, Chris, I've been waiting for your call. Like, all the while I'm thinking, oh, no one knows I'm fucked up again, you know? And
Right.
sure enough. And I went back to treatment, and yeah. And then I had one slip in 2015, my last time, and I've been 9 years sober since. And the difference today, I'm doing the work. I'm involved more than I was. Half measures avail us nothing, and you know that. And I was half-assed. I was sponsoring myself.
Right. Right. That never works.
Yeah, no.
Right. We think it will, but it never was. It never
I didn't
does.
think I needed the help of anyone else. I thought I could do it on my own. And yeah, I paid for that, but you know, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly.
Yeah. Well, everyone's path is different, and you know,
There's all
as
sorts
long
of
as we get
loopholes.
there.
There's
Oh,
all
yeah,
sorts
there
of
is.
loopholes.
Yeah, there is. And the surgery stuff, like I know from my back surgeries, I had problems with Vicodin because
Yeah.
you couldn't function without it. You know,
Yeah.
and I was lucky I didn't go farther down the road. But I thought I had a lot of 10, but Jesus, you got me beat for surgeries.
Yeah, no, I had 12 on my right knee. I had 11, 2 big ones on my right knee and 3 big ones and 11 on my right knee. I had 8 scopes.
Wow.
When I was a kid, I had all my cartilage taken out of my right knee. I played my whole career with no cartilage in my right knee. I had to
Holy
get it
smokes.
cleaned out all the time. Bone spurs
Yeah.
and chips, and then I had it replaced back in 2019. I couldn't even walk anymore. It was like crazy, and I ended up getting it replaced. But then I got a staph infection, and I was laid up for 3 months with that. It's crazy. But yeah, so things are good today. Yeah, thanks.
No, that's good. I'm glad things are back on track for you. I mean,
Yep.
it's an important thing. What was it like as a kid growing up in Boston playing for the Bruins? Because you played for Montreal all those years, which was a arch rival of Boston, and then you end up with the Bruins for a couple of years after the Rangers. What's that like for a kid from Boston, and what's it like for someone whose heart and soul bled blue block at Rouge, right? And now you're on the Bruins.
It was like getting a fucking root canal. No. It's unfortunate. Like my father didn't, when I was in New York, I was telling him I want to get home to Boston. My father said, don't come back here. Fuck them, And I don't blame him because my father put up with a lot of shit in the Boston Garden with a lot of, drunk fucking assholes.
Yep.
And quite frankly, a lot of them probably weren't even from Boston. They were from fucking Worcester.
The Hampshire.
And,
right?
Yeah, or Greenfield, Mass. No,
Right.
But I was so beat up by the time I got to the Bruins. It was, my first year there. It could have went so different. I played basketball on the parquet and broke my ankle. Right.
Jeez.
That's how I broke my ankle.
Yeah.
And Mike Milbury had named me the All-Star team.
Yeah.
I loved playing. By the
1991.
way, I loved playing for Mike Milbury. I loved playing for him. Duna was awesome. But then I broke my ankle and things went to shit from there. And then I had an incident in training camp my second year with Bob Beers, and I punched him my glove on, and they put me on the B squad my second year. They had an A and B squad, and if you're with the Bruins and you're on the B squad, things don't look too good. And I'm on the B squad, and I remember starting that season, and Bowness was the coach, and I love Rick Bowness. I think he's a great guy. But when he was in Boston there, as a head coach, he was kind of like a puppet. Harry and Mike were fucking telling him what to do. And we go, how the Bruins go on the road trip beginning of the year?
Yep.
There was 5 or 6 games, and I wasn't playing. Alan Stewart was playing and Lyndon Byers, and they were doing all the fighting. And I remember the last game, we're in Chicago Stadium. I go in the warm-up, and I'm thinking, ooh, maybe I'm going to play. And you're not playing. So I fucking ride the bike, and I remember Rick Bowness come by, and, I'm really proud of the way you're dealing with this. I'm like, fuck you, And I just kept going, and I get home to Boston, and Alan Stewart packed his car up and went back to, I don't know, I think he's from Manitoba. He drove home. He didn't want to play hockey anymore, didn't want to fight. He was fed up. And then the next day in practice, Lyndon Byers gets hit with a shot and breaks his ankle.
Holy shit.
So after practice, we're in the room, and coach comes running in, and he's a big smile. Hey, Chris, you ready to go tomorrow night? I said, hey, Rick, go fuck yourself. He said, what? And then go fuck yourself. What do you mean you're talking to me like that? I said, well, you want me now because Stewart's gone and LB's hurt? Now you fucking want me? I said, listen, I ain't fucking Ray Bork and I ain't Cam Neely. But I've been around as long as those fucking guys. And you show me no fucking respect. And I tell you, I have respect for everybody, but you want to disrespect me, treat me like shit, I'm gonna fucking kiss your ass and be nice to you. I had a hard time with it. I was beat up at the end, so I didn't play. And then Joe Fitzgerald wrote a big article saying Mike Milbury got to settle this and come down and square things away between Bonus and Nilan. And Mike came down. We talked. I talked it out with Rick and him, and I ended up playing the first game back. Rick Bonus, because I wanted to play, he said, "I'll fucking show you play." He played me like 19 minutes. I was fucking dead at the end. But I scored 2 goals in the game. I scored twice. It was against New Jersey. And then, they put me on waivers, and Serge ended up picking me up and bringing me back to Montreal. That being said, like I just got there too late. If the Bruins brought me in at the beginning, I would have been the fucking prototypical awesome Boston Bruin. But then again, I don't know. Would I have got the opportunities I got in Montreal? Would I have got the coaching I got in Montreal? All those things. I don't know. But I know one thing, that if I started there, my experience could have been a whole lot better than the one at the end. It was getting hard on me. I remember my last year there, before I went back to Montreal, I fought on consecutive nights. I fought Stu Grimson. I remember I went with him, and I was, he hit me some good punches. He's big kid, young kid, fucking
tough guy.
Bruin.
Yeah.
And then the next night, big Jim McKenzie. The next night. And I remember going to the box, and I was like, fuck, this is getting tougher. And I'm going through what O'Reilly and them did when I was coming in. The same shit. It gets so hard on you at the end. I was going through that, and it was those last couple of years in Boston was difficult. I was near the end of the line for me.
Now, I noticed you're part of a foundation, the Liam Foundation.
Yeah.
I wanted you to talk a little bit about that, because it's an incredible story, and who this boy is, and kind of where people can find a little more information about it.
Yeah, you can go online, Liam Foundation, easy. Liam's dad and Kevin and I met. Liam was born. They thought everything was good with him. He ended up being severely autistic and also having a mitochondrial disease called Polgy. And they thought that he wasn't supposed to live to 4. He's 10 now. Kevin, his dad, is obsessed with finding a cure. He's and when I met Kevin, he's got 3 other kids, and he got a full-time job. He's working his ass off, and trying to take care of his young Liam. And I said, I got to help this kid somehow and raise money, and he's really a tireless worker for it. And I jumped on board, and I said, listen, I'm going to help you out. And we raised a lot of money in the bike ride. Guys from Boston rode up. My friends Tom Regan, South Boston, Sean's dad.
Yep, I followed that whole thing.
And the boys raised great money there. He had a golf tournament, but asked me if I put my name on it, which I have. Last year was the first year. We raised $150,000 the first year. We do all sorts of stuff, but yeah, so it's awesome to be able to give back to this community, especially a guy like Kevin and little Liam, who's such a awesome little kid who, has a hard time communicating. He can say Nux. He says my name Nux, and he loves watching fights on his tablet. A great little kid. But yeah, that, and I'm an ambassador with the Habs. I'm an ambassador with BFL, a custom brokerage company a good friend of mine owns, who he hired me on board with him. And then BGL, I'm an ambassador with the mental health, Lorenzetti Mental Health Foundation here in Montreal. So, there's opportunities here for me where there probably wouldn't be in Boston. Otherwise, the chance I'd be living at home closer to my family. But yeah, the opportunities here have been really good, and life has been good. I can't stand the fucking cold anymore. When I could be living in Hawaii, my
Right.
wife Jamie's from Hawaii, and we just come back from there in February. But I'm getting sick of the cold. It's getting a little too much for me. The cold.
Yeah, we
But
choose to
Liam,
live in the cold.
yeah, Liam is awesome. The foundation's great. I'm so glad to be tied in with Kevin and him and helping their family. And, the thing about Kevin with little Liam, if it was me, I'd be worried about finding a cure for my kid, right? Kevin is trying to find a cure for this disease. And he has finally got a drug company from Spain who developed medication that is helping these kids and has shown great promise. And none of those big drug companies wanted to deal with Kevin or that disease because it's so rare. So if they spend all this money trying to find something, they're not going to make money on it because it's so rare. Kevin, they have a clinic, a mito clinic now, since Kevin got involved and we started raising the money at Montreal Children's. And Kevin has brought children in from all around the world: China, Brazil, Afghanistan, India. He brought kids in. They put their family up for like a month, and the kids get on medication and go to the clinic for a month, and then they go home with a year's medication. So,
Wow.
that impressed me about Kevin. I'm like, fuck, I'd be worried about my kid. Forget about the rest of them. But
Right.
Kevin wants to find a cure for this thing, and he wants to help these other kids that have it too. So it's so admirable. And I'm proud of being involved with Kevin and what he does. He's such a good man. And little Liam, I love him to death. He's a good little man.
That's awesome. Now, before we wrap up, Raw Knuckles podcast, great stuff you have on there.
Yes.
And how did that come about?
Well, when I moved back here because I had an opportunity in the radio, and I was on TSN here in Montreal, English radio, and I had my show for about 10 years. Pandemic came, and I was doing it from home. And then they wanted everybody back in the studio, and they said we had to be vaccinated, and I refused to get vaccinated. I had a letter from a doctor for a medical exemption, and they told me to go stick it up my ass. They didn't care about me, basically. I had some issues with my arteries that I was worried about blood clots.
Yeah.
And they fired me. So when I got fired, I was looking for a way to bring some money in. And then I had done the Last Gladiators, the documentary on fighting and hockey. And the guy who did it with Barry Reese from Pittsburgh. We stayed friends. And he said, listen, I have a production company. We can help you if you want to start a podcast. And we did. That's how it got going. It's had a lot of fun doing it. But one of the difficult things was making some money at it. Spitting Chicklets is obviously the best hockey one out there. And there's some other, Missing Curfew is a good one. There's some good ones. And one of the things, because I'm in recovery, I won't accept for advertising is I won't accept advertising dollars from gambling or alcohol. And I passed up on a few of those, and that's where the money is.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, and I refuse to take it being a sober man. So, I'm still kicking away at it. I'm doing okay, but we'll see how long it goes. I have fun doing it. I love talking to guys. Love talking to guys I fought and getting to know a little bit more about them. Guys I thought I hated.
Right.
Right. The O'Reilly episode was great.
Yeah, Taz the best. I love him.
Yeah.
Awesome guy. Dave Brown, guy we had so many fights together. Jay, I knew Jay anyway, but it's really cool, and just finding guys' backgrounds, where they come from, how they get where they got, stuff like that. I like that part of it. I don't like talking about, how many chicks were you with in your career and stuff like that. I just, I like just conversation.
Yeah, a little more substance than that,
Ah,
right?
yeah,
Now,
and like I say, I don't have nothing against it. I think those guys at Chicklets are awesome. Like they do a great job, Whitney and Biz and
Oh, yeah, they're great.
yep.
Yandel, like they're really good. They got a good thing going. Good on them. They got in the door there and they've really built it. They didn't just sit with it. They built that thing and it's done well. Good for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, we had Whitney on. Have you had either one of them on?
I had
Must
Biz
have.
on.
Biz, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, Biz.
I'm gonna try and get Whit one of these days.
Yeah. Well, I mean, after today, I know Gino and I have no shot to come on your podcast. You hate us, referees.
Fucking referee.
Gino
You
was
had
dirty.
Stewie on. You had Stewie on, right?
Yeah, I had Stewie on.
Yeah.
I had Cole on. I had
Yeah.
Yep.
Kerry on.
Yeah.
Listen, I got along with most of the referees in the league. One that I really didn't like was Bruce Hood.
Mm.
Okay.
He didn't like me. I didn't like him. I didn't like Kerry as a ref. I just didn't. I thought he was a cocky little shit who had a little man syndrome. I did. And I never forget when I hit Middleton that thing. Went before Brian O'Neill. And I was still a young kid kind of. And we're in there. They asked me if I had anything to say about what happened. I said, listen, I got high stick in the corner before. Yeah, I hit him with my glove. I didn't hit him with my stick, blah, blah, blah. And I said, honestly, every game I play, fucking Frazier, I said, honestly, on that play, he should have been looking at the puck carrier, not me. That's what I said. when I hit Middleton. And he always gets a kick out of that. But, I got along with most of those guys. And, Bill McCrary was always good with me, Andy, Denny Morrell, Ron Hogarth, Stewie, But Stewie would always tell me, Knuckles, be careful tonight. I'm going to let you play, but you get stupid. I got to call it,
Right.
I like guys who would talk with you, Kerry was
Yep.
fucking smug on the ice. He was. Coho would talk with you. Andy, all those guys.
I was a
Yeah.
communicator. Yeah.
Yeah,
I like to communicate.
They make it so adversarial, If you could
Right.
have that little bit of, banter back and forth, it's okay.
Yeah, it's a human element, right? Yeah.
Yeah, So,
I think that's why you and I got along when I was reffing and you were coaching.
yeah,
'Cause
listen,
we
I
always
get
loved to
it.
Go back and forth.
I hate when guys act like, fuck you, don't talk to me. Who the fuck are you?
Right.
I ain't talking to you. Fucking, yeah, you know what? Stick it up your ass.
I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up Brian McLaughlin, a good friend of yours, along with my uncle Frank. I know you three guys have, done plenty over the years. But Brian, it was funny. I ran into him at my aunt's funeral, and I had said, "Yeah." He said, "Do you get Chris on yet?" And I said, "No, not yet." I reached out, and he goes, "Tell that fucking guy to call you." And, and I laughed, and I was like, "All right." And that was my next message to you.
I love Brian. He's been such a good friend to me. Good friend to Jay Miller also. And
Yep.
we met Frankie through Brian and Stan. All the boys.
Oh, yeah.
Frankie, when we used to go down to Florida or Bahamas, we had some golf trips and some fun. I always make sure I tied my hip to Frankie's hip. I friggin' loved him. One of the funniest guys to run with. Geez, and it's funny. When I was at Northeastern, I didn't know Frankie or Brian. And I used to go to that Bogart's, a Chinese food restaurant. all
Oh,
the time.
yeah.
Across
Yeah.
from, I worked at Clark's. Fuck, I was a bouncer
Okay.
at Clark's. And I find out years later when I met Frankie, he owned Bogart's. I'm like,
Yeah, he did.
it was like,
Yeah.
yeah, it was like crazy. But Frankie, awesome guy. Brian just done a ton of work for charity. Brian is a great human being. His son, young Brian Jr., what an awesome kid, And Brian McLaughlin, I love him. he's a great guy, been a great friend to me, and a great friend to a lot of people, quite honestly.
And if people don't know, Brian McLaughlin, the founder and owner of D'Angelo Sandwich Shops.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he since sold it actually, I think, to Papa Gino's back in the day for a nickel.
He sold it to Pepsi back in the day. But,
Yeah.
But Brian, it's funny. People always say, "What a lucky bastard!" They'd see him with the boat or they're lucky. That guy, he started with a $200 loan with a store, one store in Dedham Square.
Dedham Square, Ma Riva. Yeah.
And he built up that whole thing. He worked his ass off, having a family at the same time. Lucky, he worked his ass off to get where he got. And he was smart. He invested his money, invested in real estate. He did all, just a really awesome guy, good business guy, and just a good friend, a good person. Love Brian.
Yeah. No, that's a great crew. I actually worked for him during the summers at the warehouse down in West Bridgewater. We were cutting meat. That was back when they decided to shave all the steak in house.
Yeah,
so it was me and 12 Cape Verdeans every day shaving meat, and it was fucking blast.
Well, right? They used to buy all their bread. Then he bought the bakery and started making their own stuff. Right? Boom. Really, just a really resourceful guy and sharp guy. Really.
Yep.
Good people.
Nah, great stuff. Well,
so Gino, how's your dad?
Awesome.
Good? Dad doing good?
Yeah, the old man's doing good. Yeah, he's still involved.
Tell him I said hello.
Absolutely. Yes. Yep. He says hello. He was like, "Oh, that's awesome. You coming on?" So
I knew him back in those crazy days when you weren't born yet.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He tells war stories. Yeah. A lot of fun those days.
Yep.
Oh, you brought up the old pro league during the summer.
Oh yeah.
And Big Gene refereed that. I was down there a bunch too. This was I think you were too young, Gino, when Chris, Nick, all those guys were playing.
Right. I loved it.
Back in the crazy days. But that league was a lot of fun.
That was that Hingham League, But I got to the point, I think I played my first couple years, and I got to the point, I said, what am I doing? I got fucking fighting all year. I got to come to summer hockey and fight? No. Then I had like enough of that, So, crazy. And then I played down there in retirement, right? I retired, so I played in that, I don't know, over 40 league or whatever, over 30 league. Yeah, something like that. And I was playing with the boys, and I end up getting slashed or something on the ankle or something. I turned around, I cracked the guy, and he went down. I heard him. Everybody yelling at me. Kids yelling at me. What the fuck? I said, hey, what are you whining about? I said, I ain't going to let fucking guys in the NHL do that. I'm going to fucking let you do it down here in Hingham? Fuck you. Why? Because I play pro hockey now. I can be the pincushion. I can't do anything. It was crazy. So I'm there. What am I doing? But I had fun. We played with a group of guys on there. The Aloha Wings. Aloha was our sponsor. We had I think we had a Mai Tai on our shirt.
That's awesome.
With the boys, we had a lot of fun. Danny Cronin,
all the beers afterwards.
Billy Flynn. Good group of guys. We had a lot of fun down there, and then I got suspended from the league, and I'm like, see you later.
I think Billy Timmons got suspended too.
Right?
He got suspended from every league I think he played in. But
funny.
I'm just thinking, if I'm out there playing a game and you're on the other team, you're the last guy I'm fucking slashing in the ankle. I mean, you know what I mean?
I mean, some crazy shit happened throughout the years down that league. I remember Brendan Walsh was coaching Northeastern, and Donnie Grover was going into Northeastern as a freshman, and they fought. And me and my father were out there breaking it up.
Crazy, right?
I'm like, he's your coach.
And now Brendan's a cop, right?
Yes, now you gave him a badge and a gun. Yeah.
Yeah. Yahoo. Love Brendan Walsh.
Oh, he's the best. He's awesome. Yep.
Yeah.
He was fun to ref down there. Oh boy. I was like 18 years old. He just fucking giving it to me, mouthing but he was just busting my balls the whole time. Just and then he laugh and wink. It was fucking awesome.
Chris, we want to thank you for coming on. I mean,
No problem, Mark. Gino, good luck with the podcast.
Awesome.
Anytime you need me, I'd be happy to help you out. I know what it's like trying to get guests, so
Right on.
not easy thing all the time, right?
Yeah, no, it's a grind, but it's it's episodes like this that make it worth it because it's just it's so great to hear stories and talk with guys that you remember watching growing up and.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, you were one of the only Canadians I liked when you were with them because I hated the freaking Canadians from being from Boston. But
I hated them too.
I always pulled for you. I
Yeah.
always pulled for you. Yeah.
I hated them too. It's funny. I was the same way as a kid. I hated the Canadians. I loved seeing local kids no matter where they. I remember which Fiddler? Not Mark Fiddler's brother, the older one.
Was it Jay?
No, he played in Minnesota. I played against him too. He played in Hartford. Jesus. Anyway, I remember he was in the league. I played high school hockey against him when I was young. He was a senior. Fiddler and the Hughes brothers played together. I remember seeing him as a kid, and I'm like, man, one day be in the NHL. There's a Boston kid in the NHL, so it was pretty cool, I didn't know the She-Cat back then, Bobby Sheehan. He was the first American to really play for the Canadians. From Bobby Sheehan from Weymouth, Massachusetts.
Yep.
But, Fiddler. Jesus, how's that name escape me? Mark.
I always thought it was Mark that played.
No,
but
Mark's brother. It's his older brother. Jesus, I got Fiddler. No, I'll have to come up with it.
I'm on the Mike
Fiddler.
Mike Fiddler. Yeah. Yep.
Mike, and then there's Joe. Joe is his cousin. Joe is a good little player too.
Okay.
Mark was awesome. Michael was unbelievable, and certainly Mark was awesome. Mark Fiddler. I grew up playing against Mark as a young kid in minor hockey, in Boston Neighborhood Hockey League. We played him. He played for Charlestown. I played for West Roxbury. Then we played Hub City, and the other kid who played was really good. He played with him at BU. Mark was Billy Carter, Charlestown kid, really good player. God rest his soul. He's passed now. Billy. But what a hockey player Mark Fiddler was. College. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Played
And Michael.
BU, right? He went to BU?
He went to BU. And Michael went to Matignon, and he played with, or did he go to Matignon or Malden Catholic? Malden Catholic. Michael did. And he played with Hughes. Was it George Hughes? And I forget who the other. They had unbelievable line, though. They
were stacked back in the days. Them, Matignon, those are always the powerhouses.
Yeah.
And then, of course, CM. They've always been good.
Yep.
But,
high.
Yeah,
other local guy, Freddie Ahern, right? I've loved Freddie. Awesome. For a kid from South Boston to come out of there and go and play in the NHL back then wasn't an easy task, right? It was awesome. And a real good guy, too, Freddie.
Brian Noonan, another one. He was from from Southie. Yep. And you mentioned Steve Rooney. He was wasn't he Canton?
Yeah,
he was a Canton kid.
Canton.
Yeah.
Yep.
When Noonan won the cup, he brought it to Salty, and my father drove around with them all day long. And I was at Paul Vinton summer camp. I call him up, collect. He goes, "Hey, guess where I was all day long?" I'm like, "Hey, you with the cup?" And I'm like,
"Yeah, Runes is from Canton." Yeah.
Yeah.
He still thinks Karen Reed did it.
There's a few out there like that, and there's still a few that think the earth is flat. So we can't help everybody, right?
No, I don't know if he does. I just know all them people from Canton are circling the wagons, aren't they?
Oh yeah.
Funny.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That story is insane. That whole thing is insane. What a big waste of money. We don't want to get too political on here though. So
No.
being referees, we're already kind of behind the 8 ball with people liking us, right?
It's funny. You guys are in Weymouth. My grandson Colin lives in Weymouth. He's freshman at Weymouth High.
Okay.
He played lacrosse this year, but really good football player. He couldn't play varsity this year because he was a freshman. And if he could have, he would have. They would have. Believe me, he could have played. So next year he's going to be on there. He's a really good football player. Colin.
And you had mentioned your nephew's refereeing.
Yeah.
My nephew, my grandson.
Grandson. Yeah.
My grandson Nolan Burns, South Boston, reffing. So
He's on the ref crease. Yeah.
let's make him some money there, Gino. Come on.
Absolutely. Plenty of
Keep
work.
on the list.
You got it.
Actually, we got to get
him
him some. We got to get him some. Coach him up is what
Absolutely.
we got to do.
So Rooney's kids. Rooney has twin boys. His twins are reffing for us, and they actually did a couple of my daughter's games the other day. Yeah.
Cool.
They're doing well too. They love it. It's and they love the money. It's unreal.
That's awesome. You know,
Yeah.
I want to get him coached up a little. Maybe he can be, along with Rooney's kids, the next Rooney.
Absolutely.
Boston, right?
Yeah, we'll put him with some veteran guys. We'll get him some feedback. Absolutely.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Of course, all 3 are American, so that means only 1 out of the 3 can make it.
Yes.
That's what the NHL does.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Speaking from experience,
One out, one in.
lasting a week in the NHL, you got to be born in the right country. But
Right.
It's
that's
probably
all
going
right.
to get worse now because of the tariffs.
we're all screwed. We're all screwed. There won't be any.
Well played.
Man.
You know. So, yeah, good
Well,
stuff.
Again, Chris, this has been awesome. I love the way, what's funny is about our podcast, we try to end these things sometimes and they just go on for another 10, 15 minutes and we love it.
True.
Some of the best stuff comes out of after we try to wrap it up. So it's awesome.
That's
And,
always good for someone who's editing these. Right,
yeah.
Josh?
Well, yeah. We
The whole
we
episode
don't
is
edit
just one
anything out.
long goodbye.
Yeah, that's all. That's all. We've had a few funny ones, dropping the mic and just walking off, but
No.
yeah. Well, Chris Nilan, thanks a lot for coming on.
Yes,
Chirping
thanks.
Zebras, really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you
and-
for having me, Gino and Mark. Thank you.
And we want to thank our sponsor, the Referees Crease, your one-stop shop for all your refereeing needs. Also, AOA Studios for all what they do for editing and having a great studio up in Beverly. For Josh Dolan, our producer, Gino Bender Jr., I'm Mark Riley. We'll see you next time with Kerry Frazier. Definitely next time because we're taping with him. We're taping with him tomorrow, and I can't wait to bring you up, Chris. We'll see what happens.
Oh,
Back
Just
to
tell-
back. Perfect.
just tell him to get the blow dryer out.
Well, I gotta ask him. I gotta ask him how much Aquanet he used back in the 80s.
Oh my
I think
God, the hairspray. Oh,
he caused the ozone layer. I think the problem.
he did.
But
He did.
but we'll that'll do it for episode 54, the Adam McQuaid episode. Darth Quaid, he's a great guy, and
nice.
yes, and we'll see you next time right here. Oh, remember, like and subscribe. I'm gonna tell everyone. I forgot.
Yes.
Like and subscribe on the YouTube. Find us on all the social medias, the Instagram, the Facebook, the TikTok, and yeah, if you're looking to sponsor a podcast, reach out to me, reach out to Knuckles, and you can get a 2-for-1 deal for a couple of hockey podcasts. Why not? And we'll see you next time right here on the Chirping Zebras.